We're going to be talking a little bit about butternut squash today, but it's a preparedness channel, so it's going to come from a preparedness point of view. And I have one right here in front of me, although you can't see it yet. I'm going to lift it up where you can see it. And I kind of have a little graphic for you because I want you to understand this part. This is the butternut squash. That's what it looks like. And yes, it's not a Halloween joke. That's a knife stuck through the butternut squash. Get my other hand out of the way so you can actually see. The hardest thing about cooking the butternut squash is, you see the line that goes through it, is getting this knife through this squash. And the reason I brought this one in here to show you like this was because it's almost completely cut in half, and I'm going to open it for you. So I wanted you to see the whole squash, and then I want you to see the inside of the squash. It's not necessary to do anything else to the squash at this point. All you want to do is cut it in half. So I will. That's kind of cool, isn't it? So I will try to remove this knife here. Just one moment, please. I have to dump this video. These things are hard as a brick. I have to dump this video. Ah, there it goes. I knew it was almost all the way through. Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. And on the inside, here's one little sliver that kind of looks like a cantaloupe when you look at it that way, one little sliver. But the inside of the squash is going to be, it's a little darker than it shows actually in this video because of the light. Let me see if I can turn the light off here. That makes it a little bit better. It's a very dark orangey color, like the pumpkin. Now the winter squash are generally, the ones that I know about, are butternut, which is this bell-shaped tan squash. I'll put it back together. And then there's, oh, I guess I put it together the right way. This is a butternut squash. The buttercup squash is green and round, maybe 7, 8, 9 inches across, and kind of flat on both ends. It's like a disc shape. The acorn squash, of course, is got little grooves. It's in the shape of an acorn, dark green, has the same flesh color. They pretty much all have the same flesh color. And I think the sweet potato squash is delicata or delicate. I can't say it. Delicata, I think is how it's spelled. We have grown those and they're good. These, I think they're all good. I think this butternut is probably one of my favorite. I think the delicata sweet potato squash has a little richer flavor. From a preparedness standpoint, the reason I bothered to do this, I was gonna just point you to a different butternut squash video that was already on there, so I wouldn't have to cut this baby in half. It was difficult to do. My knives are not sharp. But from a preparedness standpoint, the part that you're really interested in is right here. Just like the video about your melons. And what you're going to want to do is take a spoon, which I didn't bring in here with me. I'll only use this knife for just a second. You're going to want to scrape. We get a view here. You can see those seeds. You're going to scrape all the seeds and the pulp out of that little cavity. And I heard a lady on another video say that you could roast them. Yes, you can. You can clean these up and roast them if you want to. She said you can roast the seeds of any squash, but I don't want you to roast them. I want you to scoop them out of there just like you did your melons and put it in a container. I just got my knife through those seeds, which was not a good idea to do that. I am going to save the seeds. Just scoop the goop. It's called scoop the goop. Scoop that goop out of there with a spoon. It's going to be just like scraping the insides of a pumpkin. And throw it in a little bag or throw it in a little butter container or something and put it in your freezer, or lay the goop out on a sheet, cookie sheet or something. Do not expose it to heat. Let it allow it to air dry, and then you can pick the seeds out of it and save the seeds. So from a preparedness standpoint, this cost me $1 from my local farmer. We bought them for years and years for 25 cents a piece. Everybody sold them for $1. But they're worth $1 all day long. This is probably, I'm going to guess this I am going to guess that the two of these put together are going to be about maybe 3 pounds. I could be wrong. This was one of the bigger ones that they had. They come much bigger than this and smaller, obviously. So there's lots of things you can do with it at this point. I saw on the other videos that people were peeling them. You can do that if you want to do that. I have never ever peeled a butternut squash. What I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to scoop the seeds out of it, and then I have a, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but my handy dandy 5-quart frying pan, that's my kitchen in the living room here today, is plenty deep enough to hold the whole squash. There, that's a real good shot. That's a good shot. It's plenty deep enough, so I will put I'm going to cook this just like I would a beef roast. I cook all kinds of things in this pan. I throw beef roast and carrots in there and leave it for 2.5 to 3 hours and on low. I'm going to put a small amount of water and a small amount of butter in the bottom. I'm going to probably put less than that much water and keep an eye on it. Probably not even quite enough to cover the bottom of the pan. It probably won't quite cover it. Just enough to create a little bit of steam and keep this on low for, I'm going to say it's going to take, I'll get back with you and put notes on the bottom once I get done, but I'm going to say it's going to take longer than 45 minutes and less than an hour and a half on a low simmer in this pan. I would never ever take the skin off of this, because when it's done, the flesh will just scoop right out of here with no problem at all. You want it good and done. It's loaded with fiber. It's got beta carotene, which your body turns into vitamin A, so it's perfect for the flu season, helps you stay healthy, helps you fight off colds. It's low in calories. It's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of, if I'm wrong, I will state it below, but I was going to say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 calories a cup before you add any butter or brown sugar to it. A little butter, brown sugar, and cinnamon, maybe a little nutmeg would really make this awesome. You can also take it out after it's cooked and whip it. I think that's kind of silly to do that, but let's see, where were we going with that? Other ways that you can cook it, you can turn it face down in a casserole dish and put a lid on it. Put a little bit of butter in the bottom, a little bit of water in the bottom. You don't have to use the butter if you don't want to. It may help it to keep from sticking to the bottom of your casserole dish. But you can put it face down and put a few little holes in the skin to vent it, and you can microwave it. I would put it on medium for probably longer than 10 minutes, probably power level 4 or power level 5 for longer than 10 minutes until it's completely soft all the way through. What you want to do always when you would microwave or cook this in the oven is to leave the lid on it a few minutes after it comes out so that it will continue to cook for a while longer. I would probably, if I had the time, I'd probably leave it in there a good 25 minutes longer with the lid on. You can put these in a roasting pan with a lid. Same thing. No need to take the stem off, or let's see, where'd the stem go? There it is. No need to take the stem off or anything. You can if you want to. If you're not a country girl, you can take the stem off. But you can put these face down in a baking dish or face up in a baking dish. You can cover it with aluminum foil or a roaster with a lid and put it in a... You can cook this almost any which way. You can cut it up in chunks and boil it, but if you put it in the pan and roast it in the oven, it's going to be longer than an hour, and I would not go over 300 degrees because I like the way things cook better at lower temperatures. So I would take more time at a lower temperature. However, you can crank up the heat and do it quicker. It's up to you. It's kind of like cooking potatoes. It's somewhat similar to cooking potatoes. So whether you microwave it, whether you cook it in a deep pan with a lid like this one, or whether you put it in your oven and roast it, microwave oven roast. You can cut it up into French fries, I understand, and you can saute it. I imagine you could probably deep fry it, although I would probably want coating on the outside of them if you're going to deep fry them. There's a lot that you can do with them, but they're almost sweet enough. This is almost 10 minutes. They're almost sweet enough to eat without sweetening for people who don't have a sweet tooth, but I like some brown sugar and butter in mine. 10 minutes. I think we'll quit right there. So they will keep at room temperature for weeks. They will keep in your garage for many, many weeks. I have kept them into January with no problems. If they're kept at a cool enough temperature, you could probably keep them longer than that if you're very careful with them so that they don't freeze. They're very cool, very cool, but don't freeze. It's one of nature's, I don't want to say best kept secrets, but it's one of nature's naturally keeping foods that are right for the season, help to keep you, if you could get in the habit of eating these on a regular basis and get your kids to eating them on a regular basis, it would definitely be great health-wise. God bless your efforts to prepare. Make a garden, plant some seeds so you can have winter squash when you needs it. Just teasing. Just save those seeds. Do me a favor and save the seeds. Throw them in the freezer or dry them, but save the seeds, because you could be the salvation of many, many people if you have seeds that cost you absolutely nothing that you are willing to share with others if the need should arise. 11 minutes. Make a list and check it twice because that would be really, really nice. God bless your effort to prepare. Again, goodbye.